We're talking about the number three. We're talking about power. Power. Judaism, how Judaism depends on power. And there's three types of power, the Rebbe said. One is when a person is alone, and that he receives power from just his identity, from God. Then there's power when there's something else in opposition. He has to summon new powers from his soul. That's the number two. And then there is peace, a new type of power where you can actually utilize the world and maintain your power that God gives you. So you have number one, the power that God gives you. Number two, you're confronting the world. And number three is synthesizing both of them. Two opposites. That's the number three. And the Rebbe said there's also, we can also use the number four, which number four shows the result of this peace that you make. There is no trace of the war whatsoever. And even a higher level, which says number five. So all these are representing levels of power and the peace which comes afterwards. Because in order to really make peace, you have to be yourself. And you have to have the power in order to not lose yourself with others and bring out the good in others. And then the power to be harmonious. So it says the Rebbe, this is especially stressed by the temple. Now we're in the 3 weeks, right? So the number three, these 3 weeks of mourning for the temple from Yud Zayin Tammuz until Tisha B'Av, when the walls were broken into of the first and the second temples, and finally 3 weeks later the temple was destroyed. First and second temples were destroyed. So this can be fixed up by the three holy temples. The first, which was built by King Solomon, the second one, which was built in the days of Ezra, and the third, which will be built by the Moshiach. God will bring it down. So here it goes. We have the first temple, which was built by King Solomon. Like it says, here's my pointer over here. Shnei Barbo, like it says, Vayeshev Shlomo al Kisei Hashem. King Solomon sat on the throne of God. Ha'ya'ikra, the main thing was the revelation of God from above. That's like the number one. But often in a way that it was drawn down from above to below. That's like this work of tzaddikim, holy Jews, but they have no problems, no opposition. It wasn't connected so much with the world. But we know what happened to the first temple. It was destroyed temporarily. Then 70 years later was built the second temple. Second temple, which was built by the Jews that came from Babylon in the days of Ezra. The main thing was from below to above. The Jews built it on their own, from below. But often in a way of hala milamata lamayla, elevating from below to above. Namely, tshuva. The Jews realized that the first temple was destroyed because of their sins. They realized that the temple was destroyed because of God's kindness, that he didn't destroy the Jews. He just destroyed their temple. And the Jews realized that they had made some pretty severe mistakes. So they corrected those mistakes for the most part. That's called tshuva. They returned back to their senses, their Jewish senses. Therefore, therefore, the second temple had more of a connection to the world. And therefore, the second temple was bigger than the first temple. Like it says, Gadol kavod habayit hazeh achron min harishon. Some people say that that refers to the first and the second temple. Bebinyan, the second temple was bigger, and Beshanim, and in years. Maybe here's the time I can show you some pictures. Let's see if I have the pictures over here. Yeah. The first and second temple. The problem is I have to check these out to see if it's really accurate and what it is. But let me just finish this and this paragraph, and we'll show that, because the Rebbe said you're supposed to learn about the temple, so we'll see. Okay, the second temple was bigger than the first. But the Idach, on the other hand, Lioto Mitzad Atachton, because the second temple, the main emphasis was not that it was exactly according to God's specifications, even though it was, but the stress was that the Jews built it themselves. Therefore, Shehuba Medida Bagbala, it was more limited than the first. In size, it was bigger. Physically, in the world, it was bigger, and it lasted 10 years longer. But the revelation of God wasn't as great. So therefore, the second temple also was destroyed, and we'll stop. Adarab, exactly the opposite. The Meshach HaZaman, and the second temple was destroyed almost 2,000 years ago. We've been in exile. The first temple was destroyed. It took them 70 years to fix up their mistake. And now we're almost 2,000 years, and we haven't really corrected ourselves. We learned about it in Likkutei Torah, because our mistake is hatred, we said. Anyway, the second temple is the exile. The time for correction has taken much longer than the first. But Nosef Lazen, also in the Zaman Kiyumo, when the second temple was standing, Lo Yatala Maila V'Shlem was the Bayit Rishon. It wasn't as high spiritually as the first temple. Shechasar bo Hey Dvar, so it was lacking 5 things, right? There was no ark there was no tablets. The breastplate, it says, was lacking something. So that's the first and the second temples. Each one had an advantage over the other one, but each one also had a bit of a disadvantage, which is not the case of the third temple. The third temple, that will be after the third redemption. We got redeemed from Egypt, we got redeemed from Babylon, and this is going to be the redemption from Rome. Hu bechibur v'isachtus the Elyon Atachton. Then there's going to be not only like the first temple that the main emphasis was God, and not only like the second temple that the main emphasis was us, that we did tshuva. It'll be a uniting of both of them. Shalochin, therefore, it'll be a new type of a strength, the ultimate strength and power and stability. And that will be a result of the Geula Nitzchis, of the third redemption, that God will take us out of Egypt. Shir Chadash, it says it'll be a new song, not Shira Chadasha, like the Jews sang when they got out of the Egypt. They sang a new song, but it was feminine, Shira Chadasha. It'll be a Shir Chadash. It'll be a new Lashon Zachar, powerful. Geula she'ein achareha galus. It's an exile that there's not after it any exile. One second. Only my phone works, so I have to. It'll be an eternal redemption. Okay, what's going to happen in the third Beis Hamikdash? Like we said, the whole point of the Beis Hamikdash was to reveal how important this world is to God, and God revealed his love and his value for this world in the temple. That this world is infinitely more important to God than all the heavenly worlds and all the other levels, and that was revealed in the Holy Temple. In the first temple, it was revealed from above to below. In the second temple, it was revealed more from us, from below to above, but both of them were lacking something. There was something that was lopsided. The third temple will be both of them together, both how much the Jewish people will be vessels to receive this awareness of God, and also God will give a bigger revelation in the physical world. So therefore, the physical world, the physical third physical temple will be longer, last longer. It'll be more godly. It'll be something different than what we have ever experienced in our lives. Even in the afterlife, it'll be something different than going to heaven. Yishlam, we can say Shamayel the Chosek Batokev, that this whole power of the third temple and the third, we saw the redemption, Mitzad Achibur v'Achdus Elyon v'Tachton. This is stressed especially in the fact that the Gula Tita, the future redemption, is sometimes called the fourth redemption. Because sometimes they count, like I said before, they count Greece. They took over Israel. That's the whole miracle of Chanukah. Which is Lifam. Sometimes it's even called the fifth redemption. Fifth redemption. They also throw in Madai, and they throw in, what is another place? Ilum. But anyways, they said this, our redemption now, that really there's been 5 different types of exile that we Jews have suffered. This will be number 5. That's a special level in itself. Shekiv and she'enu behemshech le'echad v'shnayim, since that the third temple is not going to be anything like the first and the second, namely, the first temple is God revealing from above, and the second temple is us going from below. So therefore, it's stressed. If so, the third temple, and therefore some people say that this is the result of the fourth redemption or the fifth redemption. However, it's going to be the third temple is not going to be limited to saying that it's in this world or the upper worlds, or that it's godly or that it's physical. It's going to be joined by both of them together. All right, so maybe I'll show you the pictures. Let me do it tomorrow. I'll just show you to you in a very short way. And I want to explain this. Here we go. Look at this. Watch this. See, here's the first temple and the second temple. Like I said, I don't know how accurate this is, so I want to check it out. The first temple is approximately like this. Because a lot of times in these illustrations that they make, I'm not saying that this is not accurate, but I've seen a lot of times in the illustrations that they make about the vessels of the temple and things, they're just, remarkably inaccurate. They put the poles on the ark in the wrong place. That's just okay. But here's a genuine picture, a general picture of the King Solomon's temple. Right here. Oh, King Solomon's temple in size, and the temple which was built by Ezra afterwards, the second temple. And you can see that there's basic things which are present in both of them. And also here's the tabernacle. See, is this here? No. I don't know. Let's get, there we go. No, it doesn't have the temple. Okay, here it says this is the size of a football field, American football field, which is what, 100 yards, right? 100 yards, that's 300 feet. So that's the size of a football field. Here's the size of the first temple. Here's the size of the second temple. The third temple is going to be bigger also. There's approximation pictures that are also here. We'll do it tomorrow. But the temples, all of the temples, and including the tabernacle that Moses built, they all have the same basic ingredients. And that is, they had an altar over here. Here you can't see it very clearly. Here this is even more. Here's the altar. Anyway, they have the altar, and then they have what's called the holy, that's where the candelabra was, and the face bread, and the small golden altar where they offered up incense. And then they have the Holy of Holies. That's over here. Holy of Holies, that's inside. That's where the ark was there. That was there. So basically, that's the whole temple in a nutshell. There was an outer altar. Then that's in the courtyard. Then there was an inner room, and then there was the inner room. The inner room, that's where the ark was with the tablets. And the room outside of that, which was called just one time inner holy, that's where the candelabra was, and the face bread, and the incense offering. So all these were important, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, and also to talk about this very important subject. So let's go back to, because we're waiting for Moshiach to build a third temple. Here we go. Ready? Yes. Okay, this is especially stressed in this coming Shabbat, which this coming Shabbat is the last Shabbat of the month of Tammuz. But it falls within these 3 weeks. When the Rebbe gave this speech, it fell in the last 9 days also. In any case, it was the last portion of the book of Numbers. And when we finish the book, any one of the 5 books of the Torah, at the end we say, Chazak, Chazak, Nit Chazek. So, and this is the finishing the 4th book of the Torah, book of Numbers. And we say, Chazak, Chazak, Nit Chazek. It's called Shabbat Chazak. And it's within the 3 weeks. Bein HaMetzorim, it's called within the 3 weeks. And we say, when we finish the book, we yell out, Chazak, Chazak, Nit Chazek. Be strong, and we will be strengthened. Namely, 3 times being strong. Shabbat Parshat Matat Masad. Then this Shabbat, which is Matat Masad, it's this Shabbat, Merumazat is hinted at, HaChazakah, the power of the Holy Temple. The 3rd Holy Temple. 3 times strong. And that's which comes right after the 3rd redemption. Right? We got out of Egypt, we got out of Babylon, and now we're going to get out of what's called the exile of Rome. Shabbat Achre, it comes by means of joining the 1st temple and the 2nd temple. By means of joining these 2 good qualities of both of them. The 1st temple, which the main quality was godliness. The 2nd temple, which the main quality was our willingness to serve God, namely the upper and the lower. Hamshacha, coming down of godliness. That's in the 1st temple, and us raising up in the 2nd temple. The 3rd temple will be a synthesis of both of these, and it'll be something higher than both. A power that unites both of them, which is higher than both of them together. Shemarumas betocha, and that's the idea of the joining, another joining of these 2 week parshas of this Torah portions, which is called Matot Umaseh. Chibur Zeh, this will be, when are these 2 Torah portions joined together? They're joined together when you call up the 4th person to read on Shabbat. He reads the end of Matot and the beginning of Maseh. And this is the main thing, that by means of that we finish the 4th book of the Torah, and immediately after that, the 4th book of the Torah, book of Numbers, and immediately after we finish the whole Torah reading in the Mincha prayer, we begin the 5th book of the Torah, the book of Deuteronomy. In Mincha, we read the first little section, right? 1/7 we read of the book of Deuteronomy. We begin the 5th book of the Torah. We finish the 4th book, and this is the 5th book. Shemor, this indicates on a level in itself which is above totally from upper and lower. That by means of this is joined upper and lower of the Holy Temple of the future and the future redemption. Like there's a saying that they say that when Moshiach comes, we'll have to believe in the exile. What do you mean believe in the exile? Children will talk, right, with each other. They'll say, my father said there was once a time when the Jews didn't believe in God. I said, nah. The other will say, there can't be such a thing like that. I said, but my father said that there was. Go ask your father. He comes back the next day, says, yeah, my father said that there was something. His father told him that there used to be such a thing like that there were Jews that they didn't even know they were Jews, and they didn't do the Torah and the mitzvahs. Do you believe it? He says, listen, if grandpa said, then I believe it. I believe it. And you'll have to believe in the exile. It'll be so far away from us, our perception, our our idea of what is reality, it's like coming and saying, did you know that our parents used to be trees? Yeah, they used to be trees that were planted and then they became human beings. Do you believe the difference will be a difference like that? Difference like that. Our perception of reality, what it is now, is like a tree's perception. It's really a lot less than that, but a tree's perception of what reality is. The difference is a tree is satisfied with what it is, but we read Chassidut, we read King David, that these people really desired a revelation of God and they were really one with God. So we know that we're missing something. We're missing something. But in the future, when godliness is revealed, it'll be a different world. And eventually it'll be a point that we'll forget that there was anything else. And eventually it'll be a point where we'll forget that we had to forget. So that's what number 3 is, the redemption. Number 4 is that we forget that there was such a thing as exile. And number 5 is that we forgot that we even had to forget anything. It's just incomprehensible that there could have been an exile, that Jews didn't know about God. There were Jews that didn't do the Torah. How could it be such a thing like that? Even though there were Jews that thought about going to heaven. That's what they were concerned with, was going to heaven. I mean, really, there were Jews like that, right? That they didn't realize the oneness of God in the world. It'll be a hard thing to believe, right? Because the revelation of God will be so real. That's also the chizuk, that's also the strengthening of doing Torah and the commandments, and especially relevant to our deeds all the time of exile. And after the destruction, etc., the Kavan says that by means of this, we come to a new level of power, strength, stability, certainty of the future redemption. Geula Nitzvitz, it'll be an eternal redemption and an eternal holy temple. There's an additional thing also in this coming Shabbat, which is connected to Friday, the day before Shabbat. It says one who puts an effort and prepares for the Shabbat before Shabbat, then he'll have what to eat on Shabbat. Now that's especially relevant to the future redemption. The future redemption is going to be like Shabbat, and we are like Friday, right before Shabbat. We have to prepare ourselves. Masha Torah, when Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av, now this is not relevant to this year. When the Rebbe was speaking, the first day of the Menachem of the month of by us, if I'm not mistaken, falls out on Monday. Or is it? It's always misplaced, this calendar. Why? Here it is. See, I spoke too soon. Here we go. That's right. The first day of the month of Av is on Monday, Yom Sheni, Sunday night. It's just one day. Okay. But by the Rebbe, it wasn't that way. It says that Rosh Chodesh, Menachem Av, and that year was on Friday. It says this explains, this is the preparation for the Torah portion, Maseh. It says that on Parshat Maseh, it says that Aaron went on Har HaHor and he died there on the 5th month, on the first day of the month, Be'echad HaChodesh. The only person whose exact date of passing away is stated clearly in the Torah is Aaron. He passed away on the first day of the month of Av. That's the day of the passing away of Aaron, the high priest. High priest. Okay, so, and that happened when the Rebbe was speaking. It said that date was Friday, right before Shabbat. Okay, by us, it's not that. It's on the second day, but the importance is still the same importance. What's so important about Aaron passing away on the first day of this, that the day that Aaron passed away is stated explicitly in the 5 books of Moses. It says, B'chodesh HaChamishi Be'echad LaChodesh, on the 5th month, but that's the month of Av, on the first day of the month. This is a new thing. Shalom Atzinu Dugmato, it's not found anywhere else in the Torah, even by Moses, not by Miriam. not by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. None of them is clear exactly when they passed away. On Aaron, it says exactly the date. And Mistaber Lomar, so therefore it's logical to say that this day, the first day of Menachem Av, which, like I say, is going to be next week on Sunday night, the Chodesh HaChamishi Be'echad HaChodesh, this hints at all the service of what Aaron did in his life. And therefore, it is made, it's stated the exact date when he finished this work. All of the work and the Torah that a person worked his whole life is revealed and shines from above to below on the day that he passes away. And this makes a big blessing in the world, like the Rebbe is going to explain. Okay, what is the special thing about this? Let's just see a little bit. I don't know how much we're going to get. Okay, it says the special thing about Aaron, a Kohen, that he passed away. It says like this: Vayar kol Eda, that everyone saw ki gava Aaron, that Aaron passed away. Ki gava Aaron, that Aaron passed away. The Yivku call at Aaron, and everyone, and they wept. The Jewish people wept for Aaron. Kol Beit Yisrael, all the Jews cried for 30 days. I mean, I imagine they ate and did other things, but anytime they thought about Aaron, they wept. Aaron, the men, the women. Why? Because it says that Aaron ran after peace, and he made peace between people. In the language of the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, it says he loved peace, pursued peace. He loved even the creations, and he brought them close to the Torah. In continuation, it says, Vayishma Kanani. It says that after Aaron passed away, it says that the clouds of protection went away, because the clouds of protection were in the merit of Aaron, then went away, and the Canaani heard, and the Canaani, it says, was really Amalek. It says, what did they hear? They heard that Aaron died, and that the clouds that protected the Jews went away. And so also in our Torah portion, it says, when Aaron, it says, Vayishma Kanani, it says the Canaani heard, it says that when they heard that Aaron passed away, they knew that the clouds of protection went away. What's the connection between these two things? The passing away of Aaron and the attacking of our enemies. and how that's connected to the service of Aaron, namely that he ran after peace. So Aaron ran after peace. When he passed away, that was when the clouds went away. What's the connection? The whole thing of these clouds called Ananei Kavod, the clouds of glory, it says in the translation. There were clouds that surrounded the Jews from all 6 sides, above and below, and from the 4 sides, and protected them from all the elements and from enemies, from snakes and scorpions. It says that this was in the merit of Aaron. This in some ways was even higher than the manna that fell in the merit of Moses, and the water from the rock that came in the merit of Miriam. The man was limited. It says everyone got Omer Lugogelet. You're not supposed to take more. Water, even though that it wasn't limited, you could take as much as you want. But it also came that every person used it according to his needs, which is not the case. The clouds of protection that Aaron brought, this surrounded all of the Jews equally, without any divisions whatsoever. It surrounded all of the Jews. That's the whole thing of Aaron, that he loved peace, he pursued peace, and he loved the creations. Even Jews, that the only good thing you could say about them was that God creates them. They completely misused all of their Jewish identity and even their humanness. But Aaron loved them because they were creations of God. Why? Because there was one common point in all of the Jews, which was above any division. So Aaron didn't make any division between one Jew and another. He had found something positive in everybody. And because of that, he was able to make peace. That's like the clouds of glory that surrounded everyone. And we're going to continue this, God willing, tomorrow. Here he says, let's just do one more thing. It says, this is also hinted at the name Aaron. Aleph, Har, Nun. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew bell. Har means a mountain. It also indicates love. And Nun, mountain, is indicating love. I'll explain to you why. That what comes, the letter Aleph comes before. This shows on the source of love, the oneness of God, which is the source of this love. Therefore, the love of Aaron was called an infinite love, which is the difference between Avraham, who also loved everyone, and Aaron. That even though both of them were expressed God's love in the world, but the love that Avram was limited, and that of Aaron was unlimited. And we're going to talk about this more, God willing, tomorrow.